And it's not really Vince McMahon, but it's sort of, the wider net of the Ring Boy scandal and back into the 80s, and specifically Terry Garvin. Now, we're going to mention the quotes from Nick Kiniski soon enough, but I want to do a quick addendum.
Okay, who is Nick Kiniski?
You're thinking Kaczynski is the serial killer. Which one was the serial killer? What was his first name? Oh, no, it was Kuklinski, wasn't it?
You have lost me. Kaczynski was the serial killer, though.
Oh, there was a Kaczynski and a Kuklinski.
I guess.
Lord.
You're confusing me now.
No,
okay, Nick Kiniski, who is the son of
Gene Kiniski. We're going to get onto him in a minute, but before we do, there's a quick addition for last week. We were talking about Paul Roma and his quotes to News Nation, I think. I didn't write it down, but I think that's what it is. He was talking about Jim Powers and his run-ins with Pat Patterson, Terry Garvin, that kind of thing. But then he also talks about an old tag team partner of his as well, but didn't give a name. And we sort of said, well, it's probably Hercules, or I said it's probably Hercules, because that was the only other tag team partner I remember. And Paul Roma said the guy left WWF rather than have to deal with comings on from somebody in the office, and said it wasn't worth the Benjamins, and he left WWF. And he said that later he died after suffering a bleed on the brain. Well, apparently he was most likely referencing Special Delivery Jones. So, I mean, there was a 20-year period between him leaving WWF and then hitting his head and dying. I think he had a stroke and then hit his head and he died on a bleed to the brain. But I just wanted to add that before we carried on. Very briefly, you never met S.D. Jones, did you?
I never met him.
Excuse me, I've caught your cough.
Because I never do special delivery stuff. I just do like regular mail.
Yeah, second class.
Cheaper.
Class post, yeah. We'll, okay, so here's Nick Kiniski's quotes from Post Wrestling. So this is the first time he's ever said this publicly and allowed it to be published, but he has told other wrestling journalists over the years this story, but then just said, that was for you, don't ever post this. So anyway, Terry Garvin, here's the quote.
Now that is, wait a minute, that is like a stupid statement.
What?
You're telling a reporter, don't report this, but...
Oh, but no one did. No one ever did.
He was... Yeah, but if you're saying it, I don't know, go ahead.
Oh, well, there you go. Anyway, so this is to Post Wrestling. Terry Garvin would come up to me and hit on me. I want to say... I'm sorry, I haven't got my glasses on. I'm actually going to put them on for this. The lights got darker. I won't say what he said, but you'll understand the meaning behind it. He says, hey, Nick, let me perform oral sex on you. You can read a Playboy, and you'll have it made for life. So it's like... Anyway. And you know he's my boss. He controls my boss. This is my livelihood, what I want to do. I kind of joked with him. I said, hey, Terry, you know I'm not that way, but if I ever change, you'll be the first. I'll let you be the first. We just kind of laughed it off. But he was always kind of coming up and joking, and one time he came to my hotel room late at night, and I told him to leave. Knocked at the door, so it put me in a very awkward position. There's no doubt about it. Hey, if you let me do this, you'll have it made financially for life. I mean, there's no other way to take that. I remember where it was. It was in Milwaukee, Oregon. Milwaukee, Oregon. We wrestled in Portland. I called Vince, and I said, hey, Vince.
Wait a minute. Was it in Milwaukee, Oregon, or was it in Portland?
It says Milwaukee, Oregon. So, and then, anyway, Portland comes into it as well. I called Vince, and I said, hey, Vince, I don't think this is right. Terry's hitting on me. I don't appreciate that, and I would like it to stop. And Vince said, oh, okay, I'll deal with it. And that was it. I talked to Vince and said, this isn't right, Vince. I complain, and now you guys are punishing me. I'll finish my bookings. He's been jobbed out by this point. I mean, he was only really in the company for like 9 months. But I'm not putting any guys over. Put me in the ring. We'll see what happens. Vince knows I could take care of myself, so he said no. I said, I'm done. I said, I'll finish my matches, and then Vince said, nope, you're done now. Thank you very much. So Vince fired him that night. So this says one of two things. Terry Garvin...
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Vince knew, because he's been told more than one time, and there's a pattern with Terry Garvin saying, do this thing for me, or let me do this thing to you, and I'll make sure that you're career-wise, well compensated.
You know, Vince could have done that even if he had allowed it. Terry Garvin's not the boss. Vince is. So what if he had gone? What if he had, say, he laid there, he was looking at Playboy, it was getting done, and then Vince calls him the next day and finishes him up. he says, well, we don't need you anymore. So I don't know. That's his story. I don't really buy that. It could have happened. More likely, who gives a crap anyway? So I don't know.
Well, do you know what it is? Is that with the Terry Garvin thing? I mean, I believe that Terry Garvin, because quite a few people have come out and said this. I think even Barry Orton said this once when he was a young man, before WWF. The bit that's sort of difficult to quantify one way or another is if he didn't go through with it, that Terry Garvin, well, one of two things. Terry Garvin would have either halted a push he was getting, or he could have made his career. So it's like, is it an idle threat? Is it an idle promise?
No, it's an idle threat. That's what it is. Listen, the guy's name was what? Nick?
Kiniski.
I don't think you're going to draw sellouts with that kid, period. He may have been an all right looking kid. He may have been okay to Mr. Garvin, but I don't think you could draw flies with the guy. I really don't. So if he'd have complained, Vince is running a multi-million-dollar business. He don't have time to listen to this kid who's in first matches, second matches. He means zilch to the overall product. And probably he made the right deal. Whether the guy had said, I'm not putting anybody over, I'm not doing any job, he don't care. He was done with him anyway. And in Nick's defense, I mean, not Nick's, in Vince's defense in this, I don't blame him. Just get rid of it, because there's 1,000 guys you could put in the first match. He could probably walk out in the crowd and find some independent wrestler to put in there. Maybe did a better job. So, well, I think Kiniski, is that his name, Kiniski? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think he just needed something to say, so he said that.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was basically a body, you know, during his WWF run, and then, not that it was much of a run, he was basically prelim talent, and then he was just doing jobs for the most part in the second half of what turned out to be a 9-month or 10-month run or whatever it was in the WWF.
And what years were these?
86, 87.
They weren't making any money anyway.
Yeah, the prelim guys wouldn't have been making any money.
I don't think the main event guys were making any money then.
What, 86? You must be kidding. This is Hulkamania time. This is the coining.
Well, yeah, but it's according to the shows they put you on.
Ah, well, okay. If
you
you're
could
on the
be on those
show,
if you on that C show, you're down there with whoever.
Nick Kiniski.
You're down there with him and Terry Garvin. So of course Terry, he was bored. He wanted to do something. So, but yeah, I've seen the main event guys when I was there. It was way, way down. Huck wasn't there. It was, and some guys told me they've never made less money, and I'm thinking, well, you've never been to Memphis. Mm-hmm. You can make less money there, but if you were there during the boom times, you made money. If you didn't, so you had to deal with the Terry Garvins, I guess.
Yeah. I'll put it to this way. I mean, if, let's say it's the mid-2000s and this could well have happened, somebody in WWE goes up to a woman and says, hey, if you let me sleep with you, I can, make sure that you get higher up in the card. And apparently it happened. So we hear rumors here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
But, I mean, whether it's a man or a woman who's been put in this position, I mean, it's a horrible position to be put in, allegedly, if this all happened the way it says. It's a horrible position to be put in. Even if you're said, it's implied that if you do something, you will get rewarded. It's almost implied that if you don't do it, you will get punished for it. And it's a terrible sort of position to be put in, like with the Ashley Mazzaro thing. And the exact same thing. She was getting knocks on the door, supposedly, from Vince. And that puts her in a terrible, terrible, dilemma in that sense.
Oh, it does. So all I can say is no woman was knocking on my door at 1:00 in the morning at all. So when I went to bed in my room alone, I woke up alone, and no guys were knocking on my door either. So as far as that that goes, I don't know what I would do, but you are in a bad position, especially if you're just starting out in this business. You don't know what to expect. You really don't. But you damn sure don't expect that. You might expect something at the matches and they tell you to do something or this and you're talking over, but somebody at 2:00 in the morning, you get up and you look out and it's one of the agents, it's Terry Garvin. You go, what the hell? Of course, first you might say, is anything wrong? And he would come in your room and sit down and I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell them or what I would tell myself. But
yeah. Well,
I guess I would just get a Playboy, start reading.
I know. I just like, it's like, if nothing else, just
hey,
how unromantic.
That is not funny. And this is a serious subject we're talking about.
Yeah, I know. Just
so you take it seriously and don't make a joke out of it like you always do.